If there's one watch I get asked about the most, a watch that has dethroned pretty much every entry-level diver, a watch that, dare I say, makes you second guess the SKX, we've got to look at one company. Orient. That's right. The watch would have to come from Orient. It only makes sense. It is 3:35 p.m. Let's get down to business. That's right, guys, it finally happened. I finally got an Orient Kamasu in the office here on camera for the first time ever. Special thanks to an avid supporter of everything I do here, Sam Ray. He is a certified T3 bot, he is a channel member, and he's, again, super duper active on all facets of the channel, and we really do thank him. And we can't do this review without him, so yeah. Thank you so much, Sam, for sending in this Orient Kamasu. We're going to go ahead and take a look at this because this is one of the most requested reviews ever since this watch was released. Now, this watch has been out for a couple years now, and what's interesting is it seems like the hype around it has yet to die down. And guys, when you take a look at this watch's spec sheet and you factor in this watch's price point, it totally makes sense why everyone that has one of these is super duper thrilled with it. You're just getting a whole lot of watch here for not a whole lot of money. Let's talk about the movement first. You're getting their in-house automatic F6922. Again, it's automatic, but you are getting hacking and hand wind. So people that were upset about the last Orient I reviewed, the Orient Defender version 1, it did not have hand winding capabilities. And yeah, the more I think about that, it is kind of frustrating because that's a very complicated watch with all the different subdials, and it would be nice if that did have hacking and hand wind. This absolutely does have hacking and hand wind. You're getting a day-date complication, as you can see over by the 3 o'clock. We're going to talk about that in a moment. You are getting approximately 40 hours of power reserve. Here is probably what I am most interested in, though, and probably what you're most interested in, a sapphire crystal. Okay, now I know a lot of sports watches nowadays come with sapphire crystals. How about a $280 price point? Yeah, pretty dang spectacular. 200-meter water resistance rating, threaded crown, sapphire crystal, in-house automatic movement with a day-date complication, hacking and hand wind for under $300. It makes sense that only Orient would be able to put this together. Now here is that day-date complication over by the 3 o'clock, nicely bordered, and we can see this red arrow second hand gliding past. Very nice splash of color and very high visibility here. But when we're talking about this day-date complication, again, it is nicely bordered, fairly sharp with that kind of polished frame there. Would I have preferred a dark color-matched date wheel? Probably. I think that would look even more sleek and stealthy. But you know, this is kind of standard. I mean, the Rolex Submariner doesn't have a color-matched date wheel or day wheel, so it's you know, this might be nitpicking, but different strokes for different folks. I just think I like the more understated stealthiness of a color-matched complication there. But very high visibility. Everything looks pretty well bordered. The day is a little bit off center by a tad bit. You couldn't see it with your naked eye. It only looks that way here with this macro lens. But I do want to take a look at the handset now that the second hand keeps gliding by. I'm so enticed. So let's go ahead and take a look at that handset. Okie dokie, a big, bold, broad handset with hopefully a ton of lume. Again, with these sports watches, with these big, broad handsets and big, bold applied indexes, you want them to glow, right? So here, not a ton of finishing. I'm not gonna say it's like supremely finished. We can see a bit of a rough edge over on that minute hand where we can see that edge towards us. We don't see any nice grains or brushed finish. It is polished, but it's not super high finish. And I understand that. Again, we have to keep into consideration this is a sub $300 watch. Nothing looks super duper offensive here. It's just not the most highly finished of handsets that we've seen, and that's perfectly fine. Again, you are still getting a ton of watch here, and it's not like there's anything sticking out like a sore thumb on that handset. Now, here's where some things are starting to stick out like a sore thumb. You see these, let's see, 1, 2, 3 specks. There might be more actually. They are not on top of the crystal, they are actually underneath the crystal. Okay, I've wiped and wiped and wiped this crystal clean with my various microfibers, back and forth, up and down, left and right. It's not coming off, so that leads me to believe there are a few specks. There's a little bit of sediment under that crystal. And guys, I've said it once, I've said it twice, I've said it a million times. White dial watches do show some imperfections if there are any, but black dial watches are unforgiving. Oh my gosh, a black dial watch, good luck. If there's a speck, it will show up. And here it has. Gato is circling them for you on screen. And yeah, I gotta show you the imperfections as I see them. I also see a tiny imperfection over on the 6 o'clock index. Let's go ahead and move that handset so I can really show it to you because the minute hand is actually covering it up right now. So since I have to move the handset, let's go ahead and check the crown setting and function. This is a threaded crown, pretty standard case shape. We have these integrated crown guards. Dare I say this is maybe a Submariner homage? Man, I said that about another Orient diver early on in my channel and people went ballistic. The truth is, it's a 3 o'clock diver. I mean, how far are we taking the word homage? Is this inspired by the Submariner? Maybe. Is it a straight up homage? No, because nowadays the word homage is used to essentially interchange with the word replica, right? Like nowadays an homage is just a one-to-one copy with a different brand on the dial. Whereas homage used to be something that was just inspired by. So whatever, that's gonna get me in hot water. But let's just take a look at the crown. So crown guards, good at protecting the crown, but they're not so big that they're like obscuring or interfering, I should say, with my ability to unthread that crown. Ooh, two very distinct crown settings, very nice. Let's go on the final setting and move this handset around a little bit. Okay, no graininess or grittiness, love that, everything feels good. Let's go to the first setting. Okay, we are cycling through the day and the date. Very nice, no complaints there. Let's test one more thing. Pull it out to the final setting. The second hand has stopped and we push it in. There is some definite resistance, which means this is hacking and hand winding as it should. Okay, let me show you this little imperfection I found on this 6 o'clock index. You can see it's either some adhesive or a place where the loom was not applied fully, but over on kind of the lower left side of that rectangular index, there's a little bit of a dark spot. And again, I don't know if that's adhesive or just a spot where the loom isn't applied fully. So again, you would never see this with your naked eye. It's only because my macro lens sees all, and yeah, it's just super duper unforgiving. So yep, I call it as I see it. Is this a deal breaker for this watch? Absolutely not. You're never gonna see that with your eye. It's only when you get super duper up close with this very high powered lens. All right, and as we zoom out a little bit, let's go over the dimensions. We must go over the dimensions of this watch. Pretty actually reasonable dimensions here. We have a 41.8 millimeter diameter. We have a 46.8 millimeter lug to lug, and it's 12.8 millimeters thick with a 22mm lug width. So if you don't like the bracelet, pick any 22mm strap and it should fit just fine. Maybe you want to put an ISO frame, maybe you want to put a sailcloth strap. I think it'd look fine with any and all options. Now, 41.8mm case diameter, you know, that's kind of within that sweet spot of 40mm. It's a bit above, just below 42. It's by no means like a gargantuan watch, I should say. 46.8mm lug to lug, that is well below 50. So that metric, perfectly fine in my opinion, but we won't know until we put it on the dang wrist. So let's wear this thing. As per usual, we gotta talk about the bracelet and the clasp before we put it on. No real slack. Rattles a little bit, but that's coming from the clasp mostly. If we take a look at the case back, we have some dolphins and like a wave pattern. You can see where it says Epson, because of course, Orient is owned by Seiko Epson Corporation. Let's go ahead and put on, or I should say undo the clasp so we can put it on. Pretty standard clasp, I'm gonna be honest, feels kind of cheap, but again, this watch is cheap, right? It's under $300, so they're gonna cut costs somewhere. There is some added retention here with these buttons and the clasp stay, but this clasp stay really doesn't have that much retention. That's where the rattling came from. So some of these are too tight to the point where it's difficult to undo, but this is, I don't even know why this is here. Like, I'm not even using much force. So that's a complaint there. Very high polish on that inner clasp. That's interesting. Don't really see that very often. All right, let's put it on. Here it is. The Orient Kamasu on my 7.5-inch wrist for the first time ever on camera. I gotta say, it feels good. I would probably put this on a sailcloth strap just because I'm not the biggest fan of this bracelet's clasp, but the tolerances up against the case feel fine. It's not like super rattly here. There's a bit of a space here, but it's not an eyesore, and again, it's not rattling. All that rattling comes from this dang clasp. But it feels great on the wrist, guys. This is truly a whole lot of watch. Let's feel this clasp. Let's feel this bezel. If we line it up with the minute hand. No real play. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give this the T3 seal of approval as far as usability with that bezel. So yeah, if you wanted to use this as an actual timing instrument, you could. Again, I just use it to time my pizza, my Totino's pizza rolls. So yeah, I would totally trust this. Overall, the finishing is fine. It's again, no like crazy grainage or dual finishing. It's just pretty high polish on most of the surfaces. I guess there's kind of dual finishing, like here it's more brushed and here it is more polished. But again, we're not getting that really nice, beautiful grainage or anything, and that's fine. We are getting a signed crown with that kind of crest with the two lions. Yeah, pretty standard diver, but again, it's just a spec monster in my opinion. I mean, sapphire crystal, 200-meter water resistance rating, in-house automatic, hacking, hand wind, day-date complication, really nice bezel. There were a few imperfections. I'm not gonna say that's the case with every Orient Kamasu, but with this one, you know, I review what I have in hand. So yeah, it's pretty impressive, honestly. This is the worst part of the watch. The clasp is by far the worst part of the watch, but it's easily mitigated by just getting rid of the bracelet and putting it on something else. Another thing I would have liked to see is maybe drilled lugs, but they chose not to go with that, and that's perfectly fine. Okay, let's do the lume test, and then we will wrap this up. You guys kind of already know my conclusion, though. But yeah, lume test. It is time for the lume test. You can see it's already glowing just from the lighting in the room. Now we have darkened the room up a bit, and sure enough, the handset is glowing. We're gonna give it a little blast from this UV torch, and we can see glowing very vibrantly. Now, I don't feel confident in saying this is Lumibrite because it doesn't seem to be lasting as long as Seiko's proprietary Lumibrite. but it is quite vibrant when it is glowing. So again, the longevity I don't think is there, but it does look quite vibrant. You know what? I'm gonna do something a little naughty. That's right. That's right. I did bring a Seiko in here. Yeah. You can immediately see the difference. Oh, I have a little lint there. You can immediately see the difference, guys. Yeah. I don't think that the Orient is using LumiBright. Now, this Seiko, this is my SRP 641, this also does have much bigger indexes. Get you in focus over there. All right, well, let's do a baby tuner review. This is my SRP 641, guys. I absolutely love this watch, blah, 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 blah. I'm kidding, but Seiko's proprietary LumiBright, you know, it's kind of untouchable. It's not really fair to compare other watches to it. But this Orient, decent. I will say more than good enough. All right, guys, so we spent an afternoon with the Orient Kamasu for the first time ever on this channel. Is it still a contender for the best entry-level diver in 2021? I gotta say it's an absolute contender. I would feel confident giving it that title. Again, sapphire crystal, 200-meter water resistance rating, decent lume. I don't think it's LumiBright, but it's pretty dang good. Day-date complication, hacking, and hand wind. Really nice bezel, decent finishing. Nothing is crazy about this watch. It's fairly simple, but again, when things are simple, you really have to execute upon it properly. And were there some imperfections? Yes. Were they deal breakers? Not really, in my opinion. You're not going to see those specs with your naked eye. At least I can't, but you know, I wear glasses, so who am I to talk? The clasp is not great, but again, I would probably put this on a different form of strap anyway. And everything that you see and use looks and works the way it should. And that says a lot for under $300. So I would love to hear you guys and your opinions. Please sound off in the comment section below, because I know a bunch of you out there have a bunch of experience with this watch. So how do you think this stacks up against other entry-level divers? Again, this has much better specs than the SKX, but then again, the SKX is discontinued, and now the SKX is a whole lot more than this Orient Kamasu. So what's your opinion on all of this? I would love to hear from you, and please comment, because commenting really does help my videos out in the algorithm. So thanks for hanging out with me on this unboxing and review. We didn't really unbox it because the packaging is just your standard square Orient packaging, nothing super special there. Actually, the same packaging as my Orient Defender. So there you go, you can look at that review. Actually, click the top right corner and watch that review. Guys, I would love to extend my thank you to Sam Ray, certified T3 bot. We cannot do this without you guys. I have the best viewers in the world. I have the best supporters in the world. They're literally going out of their way to help me make content, and I cannot thank them enough. So Sam Ray, this one's for you. All my certified T3 bots, all my viewers, you freaking rock. If you want to join the T3 army, click the join button next to that subscribe button. It's like YouTube's Patreon. It's $4.99 a month, and you get some extra content over there and access to that members only Discord chat. Probably one of the best parts of that channel, or of this channel, is that Discord chat, I should say. So I would love to see you there. Check out all the affiliate links in the description below. Check out my personal website, thetimetellershop.com. Guys, I will see you on the next one, so stay happy, stay healthy, and stay blessed. I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller, and always remember, I didn't invent time, I just tell it.